This is Rock Bottom with Ryan. No sugarcoating, no filters. The pain, the chaos, the truth. No bullshit. Just recovery.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rock Bottom with Ryan. I just want to say that this episode is actually brought to you by Sober Strong Apparel. It isn't just lifestyle wear, it's battle gear. Heavyweight tees, hoodies, and gear for the ones who draw a hard line. Clean, sober, no compromise. We rep sobriety like a badge of honor. And every piece you throw on says you're a part of the crew that doesn't back down. And every order fuels recovery with 10% donated to treatment facilities. Because we don't just talk about it, we stand on it. So go to SoberStrongApparel.com and use Rock Bottom at the checkout for 10% off. That's SoberStrongApparel.com. Use the code ROCKBOTTOM, all one word, for 10% discount. I really like what this company stands for. They represent recovery, which is really important to me, important to this podcast. And their clothing looks awesome. So check them out, SoberStrongApparel.com. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to Rock Bottom with Ryan. I'm here with my co-host Rachel, and we have our guest Adriana on the show today. We've been looking forward to talking to her.
Hi, guys.
Adriana, would you like to introduce yourself, talk about where you're from and all that?
So my name is Adriana. I am a recovering alcoholic. I am 9 months sober as of now and counting, as they say. I'm from New York. I grew up in this area. My journey with sobriety has been a really long up and down battle where it finally starts to feel like it's no longer such a downward fight. It's an upward fight with a good trajectory. So that's really all I got about me so far.
Awesome. Would you kind of give us like a little background on kind of like what it was like growing up and kind of what got you into drinking and or drugs and all that?
So my drug of choice was always alcohol. But we'll start with basically when I was 15, I started working in restaurants. I worked at a chain restaurant. So if you've ever seen the movie Waiting, it's something similar to that environment. And I was introduced to drinking heavily any night of the week at a very young age. There was parties after work and, I was hanging out with older people and everything like that. So I started drinking, and by the age of 20, it was very normal for me to be drinking at home. If I wasn't going out, it's like, this is what people do. We drink. So I'm going to make a drink at home instead. So I was just off the bat a drinker. I loved alcohol. I never tried any other drugs because I had this fear. Knew I was an alcoholic from a young age, that if I tried anything else, I knew that it would be dangerous for me. And my mom always said to me, there's two things I'm not going to have in this house. And it's going to be you drinking and driving, and it's not going to be drugs. Well, I beat the drug part, but the drinking and driving I didn't beat. So yeah, alcohol, it really started to escalate as the years went on. And, we get to the age of 30. And I was in the hospital for 2 months for liver, lung, and kidney failure. I was yellow, jaundice. They read me my last rites. They told my family I wasn't going to make it and to make other arrangements and all the stuff. And I pulled through somehow, which is crazy. And I was like, man, I'm scared straight. I'm like, I'll never touch a drink again. How could I? I would never, It took a year and a half. Right. It took a year and a half before it was like, well, maybe I could have one. I haven't had a drink in so long now, And then I battled it for 9 years trying to keep away from a drink. And then I started smoking marijuana instead. That was my swap off. And I tried fighting tooth and nail to stay away from drinking and drugs. And I just couldn't. I used every special occasion as an excuse. I'm like, well, I'm on vacation, so I'll have a drink. Or it's a wedding, I'll have a drink. And, that one drink at a wedding was really me lying to the bartender, telling them, make me a triple, because I can only come up here 1 or 2 times before people are going to notice that I'm up here, And I was in a 5-year relationship in the last few years, and he was an active drinker. And his lifestyle was go to work, go to the bar, go home. And I was very resentful. I tried to not drink, but this was who I was with. And I loved him very much, but it was really hard situation for me. I was very lonely in that relationship. And once I ended the relationship, that was the end of that. I was off to the races, back to drinking every single day, hiding it from everybody.
Right.
Until I got to the point where I knew something really bad's going to happen to me again. Like I'm going to get really sick again, and this is going in a direction that I'm not going to be able to stop. And I made a very hard decision to call rehab and check myself into rehab. And I did a 28-day program with 5 days of detox. And I came out. I thought I was untouchable. I'm like, I am going to be sober again for life. I got this. I joined a recovery program, all this. And within 3 months, I was smoking pot, trying not to drink, and then I relapsed. So now, as of December 17th of 2024, I've been sober from all substances, and it's the happiest I've been in my entire life. And I can genuinely say that.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations, seriously. And I have a question going back to when you started. Let's go back to like childhood, if you don't mind. Was there drinking in your home? Were you influenced by partying at home, or were you just a party girl when you started being a waitress?
There was only drinking by one part of party in my home, which was my father. He was a highly functioning alcoholic who did nothing to me and my family except go to work, keep to himself at night, drink beers by himself, and go to bed. He didn't hurt us. He didn't yell at us. He didn't abuse us. He didn't anything. He was is a great father. I adore my father. The issues that I saw were the issues between my parents that I didn't understand till I was older. I said, Daddy's not doing anything wrong. Well, that's her husband. So he was doing something wrong for her. I didn't get that until I was older. So either way, so there was drinking with him, but no, I turned to a party girl from the restaurants. It was like, I was the first one that was like, get me cut so we can get to the bar. And
Yeah.
that continued. I was just that girl. So, and then, I rallied the troops and I was like, let's go. And then whoever wanted to drink after work and didn't want to go out and blow their money, come to my house where my parents knew we were downstairs being safe, having drinks at home.
Being safe.
So how did it kind of progress into, like, would you say, progressed into like where was it mainly social drinking throughout your entire drinking career? Or did it ever progress to the point where you're like drinking isolated by yourself like some people?
So it stayed with that social aspect till I was about 27. I'm 26, 27, and that is when I met my ex-fiance. I met him working in the restaurants, and we got engaged very quickly. We only knew each other for like 6 or 7 months, and I kind of took over the Susie homemaker thing. I'm like, well, now I'm engaged. Now I have to stay home and like cook and clean and do the house after work. But he would go out after work and I'd stay home, but I was drinking liters of vodka by myself and being like, I was asleep by the time he even came home. You know what I mean? So then I found out 2 months before my wedding that my ex-fiance was cheating on me. And I was in complete denial. The alcoholism I had no clue what he was doing. I just thought he was out with his friends. And you're not home to bother me and tell me how much to drink. So what do I care?
Do you think he was taking advantage of the fact that you were drinking?
What was
And
that?
like, do you think he was taking advantage of the fact that, hey, I know she's at home drinking, so I'm just gonna do my own thing? Yeah.
Absolutely. She's out cold. I'm fine. So with that was the downward spiral
I'm sorry.
of my life. The day I found out, I called my friends and I was like, come to my house. I had a gallon of vodka. I put it on the table. I said, we're all packing his shit up and we're getting all this shit out of here. I mean, I started to drink every day heavily. I never wanted to be home because the home that we lived in was purchased by the two of us together. And it was like, I don't want to be here. So I would stay at my job, bartending and drink. And these days I had off. I started drinking right as soon as I got up. And I had turned into this depressed, isolated, miserable, non-functioning drinker. By the time I would have to go to work at 6 o'clock, I'd wake up, take a few shots in the morning to get the shakes and the sweats down, go back to sleep for a little while, then wake up I had to be at work at 6, wake up at 4:30, which left me enough time to rip a couple of shots, straighten myself out, get an Uber to work, and start at 6 o'clock again. So this was my life until my boss saw me one day and he looks at me and he's like, you look like shit. What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I've been drinking a lot. I've been hanging out a lot. And he's like,
Yeah.
Adriana, no, you're yellow. Like, you're
Oh my God.
yellow. And I was like,
Jesus.
and here's the thing. I had very bad stomach pains and I knew something was wrong, but I was in the depths of alcoholism and depression that I didn't care. I was
You
like,
just
if
keep
this is how
going.
I'm going out, this is how I'm going out, you know? And he was like, you need to go to urgent care. And I went to urgent care. Urgent care was like, you need to go to a hospital. Went to the hospital, and the rest is history with that whole story. So, yeah, I turned into that isolated drinker real bad.
Yeah, I did too. I understand that. I didn't have a scare where I turned yellow or was hospitalized, so I'm really sorry about that. But you even went through that. How long were you in the hospital for?
I was in the hospital for a full 2 months. When I first went in, they put me, it only took about a week and a half after a liver biopsy, all of my blood work before they told my family, we have to put her into a medically induced coma because she's dying. And this is like the only thing that will possibly save her. So I was on a ventilator. I was on all machines keeping me alive. And that was like the only chance. I was under for like about 2 weeks
Oh
before
my
I came
God.
out of it and was taken out of it. And I was on like a fentanyl drip for pain. I was on everything under the sun to keep me alive and out of pain.
Yeah,
And it's just like I said, by the grace of God, something, turned for the better for once. I had gone sepsis. I had gone like there was all these things that kept happening, but finally I took a turn for the better. And that's when things started to turn around. But it was a full 2 months.
I
okay.
saw some of those pictures of you when you're in the hospital, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought it was a different person. So it's just amazing how you look now. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay, she made a comeback. I mean, I was, hospitalized a few times, and seeing your photos made me look at my photos again. And I'm just like, holy crap, just like we were all just near death. And then here we are now.
yeah,
It's an incredible thing, and I've seen you guys' pictures as well, and, thank you, it's an honor to be speaking with you both, and, it saddens me to know that alcoholism, even at this younger age, back in the day, people thought you were an alcoholic, you're this old
right.
bum on the side of the street. Like, no, I was 30 years old when this happened. I was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver at 30 years old. This can happen to young people who abuse alcohol. You may not look like an alcoholic. You may not think you're an alcoholic, but if you're doing the things that we know alcoholics do, there's a chance you could wind up looking like one of us, and you don't want that. And hence why I think we all speak so much about our disease and
Oh, yeah.
want to help other people with it.
Seriously.
Yeah. And
Can you describe like what a 24— oh, sorry, Rachel first.
no, I was just gonna say it's almost like, and I'm gonna curse right now. It's like fuck around and find out. You want to keep messing around? Like, okay, here's a DUI, here's liver disease, here's this. You want to fuck around? Let's find out. Like, God, that's God right there, literally saying, "Hey, keep playing." So, like, you know what? And we all went through this. Like, I went to jail. Like, I was actually getting stomach pains, and this is a little graphic. I'm sorry. I was having problems in the bathroom where I would see blood. And this was right before I quit. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I said this yesterday. I raw dog sobriety. I didn't like detox. But
Yeah.
I had the stomach
Yeah.
pains did go away after a couple of weeks, and I never found out what it was, but I have had blood work and I'm completely healthy by the grace of God. But something was going down. Yeah. So,
Right.
Yeah, same. It's like my last few weeks before one of my hospital visits, probably 10 years ago, was one of my first real serious ones. And I had been spending probably 2 or 3 months because my company I was working for had me work from home, and which is the worst thing you wanted me to do at the time. And
yeah.
I was drinking, 2/5 of Fireball per day by myself, just
Oh,
like taking shots, shaking, trying to get the first shots down, and it got to the point where I was losing hair. My face was turning red. I was getting nosebleeds all the time. And I just was like a zombie. And then finally, I was found on my bathroom floor, curled up into a ball, mumbling to myself. And then I go to the hospital, and they just look at me and they're like, "Oh my God, we need to get you into the ER." My BAC was a .4 something, and it was like, "You should be dead, sir." And I'm like, tolerance is up, but yeah, and that didn't stop me. I got out of the hospital and drank 30 days later. So,
wow.
but
Wow.
how would you describe, like, before you ended up going in there, yellow with jaundice, like, how would you describe a 24-hour period in your body at that time? What were you doing?
So
Yeah.
at 24, physically, my stomach was very distended. I had ascites, as they call it. So I was wearing like loose clothing, and I could never have pressure on my belly because I could feel it. A 24-hour period. If I wasn't working, I always worked at 6 o'clock. So if I was working, it was what I said before. It was basically wake up 10 o'clock, drink like 2 drinks, make sure I could go back to sleep until I had to get up at 4:15, get up at 4:15, make myself 2 drinks to straighten out, stop the sweating. This is when I started popping Klonopin with it. So I say that I didn't use drugs, but clearly I had the Klonopin because I had anxiety, which is AKA shaking and withdrawal from alcohol, withdrawal. So I would take the
Rachel and I can relate
Klonopin and
to
a
the
couple shots
Klonopin.
to get the calm, the sweats, and the everything down, get myself together, get to work. I had alcohol in my purse. I would do my first 2 hours, which were the busiest, 6 to 8, get through that busy part. 8 o'clock, I had to get into the bathroom again, take a shot or two, get that regulated down. Now, mind you, it had gotten to the point where my body was rejecting alcohol and everything else,
Yeah.
alcohol, water,
Yes.
anything. The gag reflex, the
Yeah.
minute I
Throwing up.
drank anything was like,
Oh my God, that was
so I would have to go in the bathroom like, yeah, like stomach it down, get it down. Fine, done. Finish work at 11 o'clock. I would go over to the bar to hand my money over to the bartender and we would trade. He'd hand me a pint glass with vodka soda. I would take it outside in the back. I've never even told people this. Like, I would take it outside in the back and sip it where nobody was because the first couple sips were going to be me
Yeah.
gagging.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
gagged it down, held my nose, and did all that. So that was, and then I'd stay at work till like 3 and rinse and repeat. And then if I didn't work, I didn't leave the house. There was no me going anywhere. I stayed home. I would make sure I was always stocked up on enough, and I would stay home and pint glasses, half and half of whatever what, and vodka and whatever mixer. I would do Gatorade, something to hydrate me, drink those until I passed
Oh,
out, woke up, did it all over again. And that was my day, and, timed it where I would call my mom in the morning. So, hey, Ma, everything's good. Okay. Yeah. Talk to you later. Not call her
wow.
when I was drunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was a day in the life. And it was fucking exhausting. Pardon my French. It was sickening and exhausting, but I was so sad on the inside. I was so depressed
Like,
and
passively, like, not saying suicidal, like, passively, you didn't care if you would die?
didn't
Yeah,
care.
I
Said to
totally get
myself,
it.
I don't care if this is the way I go. I don't care. Like, I'm miserable and my life, look what happened. I got left. I could have been married. My life, this. Not seeing that there could be a way to change it or fix it. I wanted to sit in the comfort of misery
Right.
and not get better.
Yeah.
So,
It's like really disheartening, obviously, speaking to you and hearing about the gag reflex thing, to know that like you went through this, but it's eye-opening to me because I told you I was having those stomach pains. Now I'm starting to piece things together. Like in the mornings up to the weeks before I quit, when I would go to brush my teeth, I would gag to the point that I vomited immediately. And then like same thing with when I would go to take a shot or even just drink my glass of wine, I would be like, "Ugh," like, and it was always like that. I didn't know why. This was when I had the stomach pains, when I had the issues in the bathroom. Thank God I quit when I did, because now I'm listening to you and I'm like, these were the symptoms you had before you ended up in the hospital.
your body was rejecting it. Your body had enough. It wasn't able, your liver itself was not able to process any more alcohol. And
Yeah.
Did you
that's
have
what
it?
was happening.
Did you guys find it difficult to actually get drunk towards the end there? Like, just trying to get the alcohol down was tough enough. So, I mean, it took longer to get rid of the withdrawals. Wasn't that a pain in the ass?
So annoying. It's
Yeah.
like I said, I would hold my nose and just try to get it down because I just wanted it to do what it needed to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
But
Relax
in
the
general,
nerve.
it's like I just wanted to take a sip and get it over with, but I
Yeah.
couldn't. It would be like, so that's where I said to myself, what do I do? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, do I come clean with how bad this really is, or do I just keep trying to manage this? I wasn't trying to stop it. I was trying to manage it. How do I
Yeah.
Yeah.
manage this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I totally thought the same thing. I used to say to my dad right before I quit, because I was a wine drinker, and I used to say, but I want to be able to go to Cooper's Hawk, which is like a winery. I want to be able to go there and, wine taste occasionally. Or what about the holidays? This was like right before I quit and in my early sobriety. Now I'm like, I don't give a shit. But I could even go to Cooper's Hawk and eat there. But wow, my state too. Yeah, it was like, but I want to be able to go wine tasting occasionally. Like, no, the fuck you don't, girl. It's not going to be wine tasting. You're not even going to taste the wine. You're going to get drunk anyway.
Exactly.
So I
But
keep
be
hearing
real.
Klonopin mentioned when I've talked to Rachel a little bit about anxiety meds and stuff. So would you say that both of you, were you guys, how much do you think you were possibly abusing them? Not just drinking on them, but were you overtaking them to cope with like more anxiety, the anxiety? Like how much were you taking, do you
Oh
think?
yeah. I mean, I could say I was.
I think from what I remember, I saved it for when I needed it. Like if I was just home and I had alcohol and access and no other things were going on, then I wasn't taking it. But if I had to go to an event or if I had to go out of the house, like you best believe I was having 2 of those and a shot because it was the
Yeah.
only thing to even me out.
And it
So
blacked
yeah,
us
I was
out quicker.
definitely abusing it, but I wasn't at the point where it was like I was calling the doctor being like, "Oh my, Nurse Jackie status," where I'm like, popping them nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something that I was taking more than I should have been taking, but that's because I needed more. My anxiety was so bad. How come my anxiety was so bad? Because I wasn't able to put the pieces together that this alcohol coming down from it is what is giving me the anxiety.
Exactly.
It's that,
It's a horrible
but so
cycle.
I would say, yeah, I abused it, but yeah, I just
Yeah.
needed it in order to not shake my hands like a
Same
leaf,
here. I'd
Literally.
wake up and I'd pop 2 clonazepams and I would have a spiked, vodka Gatorade, and then I'd be like, okay, my hands are done. And then by the time nighttime came around and I was gonna go out and be social, I was like, I used to be able to be social without anything, but now I needed to pop 2 more, drink out with my friends, then I would just black out really easily. And the next day I'd be apologizing, like, what did I do? What did I do? I think
Oh yeah.
Rachel went through
man.
that too.
The 3 of us would have been 3 peas in a pod if we all went out
I
together.
always say if we all met when we were using, it would be a shit show.
Like ruined our friendship for no reason. I don't know what I would have done. The Ratchet Rachel was such a
I can sense that about myself as well. I did that, so
Speaking of
I
Ratchet
wanted
Rachel,
Did you have an alter ego?
did
I heard
Adriana
about
have an
Ratchet
alter
Rachel.
ego?
I was always called Gumby, actually.
Oh,
I
God.
was called Gumby because I again, we can all relate. How did Adriana get so drunk so fast? I would go out and, I'd only have had like 3 drinks while I'm out. And all of a sudden I'm Gumby, legless, falling, and I would fall a lot. And people would be like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, it's the high heels, it's the high heels. It's my shoes, So I was always Gumby, but like, I mean, everybody had the most to say because like I was Gumby, but like, don't think Gumby was going to drop the drink or the cigarette. Like there's pictures of me like on the ground, like, you know what I mean? Like, cause there was no way I was letting go of either of those things. So Gumby wouldn't release the drink or the cigarette, but she'd be on the ground. I had sprained ankles like crazy. So
Jeez.
my alter ego was just straight up Gumby because I went
Gumby.
from 0 to 60, aka I drank way too much before I went out. Always. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
always. That just
Yeah.
always was.
A bottle of wine while getting
Gumby and
ready.
Ratchet Rachel.
Gumby and Ratchet Rachel.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn.
you need a bottle of wine. while
Man,
being
dynamic
drunk.
duo right there.
It sounds kind of scary because I literally, like, I was telling you, Adriana, like, was it yesterday over the messages that I was literally like JWoww and Snooki mixed? Like, that was Ratchet Rachel. So it really, maybe it was a good time for the first hour, like, and then it wasn't. It would turn scary. I was getting on tables and chairs that weren't stable and falling off of them. I would wake up the next day not just bruised up, but like swollen. Like I have slip discs, but I'm not sure what they're from. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure I fell a couple times.
And that morning of pure regret, you wake up and you're just like, what did I do? But the thing is, it's like, yes, I remember all that, but I just firmly know that who I became, which was the isolated drinker who
Yeah.
just wanted to be alone. I didn't want to be at the party. I didn't want
Yeah.
to be around people. I didn't want,
And that doesn't
the
sound like
party
you.
ended for me like 28, and since then I have only been an isolated drinker, where even in the last 9 years it's like if I was going to drink it was cuz I was like sneaking in, I was home alone cuz it was what
Yeah.
I wanted. So it definitely changed for me completely, and that's how I knew, like, I'm gonna die this way because I wanna be doing this, like, I wanna be alone, so
Yeah. Depression was on a high level too, it sounds like. And anxiety was bad enough to where you don't want to be social. So it just continued and continued. So how
Yeah.
many would you say like that when you had jaundice and ended up in the hospital, would you say that was like the lowest of like rock bottom moments? Or like how did it get later on? Like you've been sober 9 months. How is that compared to like when you had relapsed most recently?
it's I would love to say that that was the rock bottom, but it wasn't because none of that was, like, my choice. I just was sick at that point and told to go to a hospital. So once I was in the hospital, I was in the care of people that were gonna get me better, you know what I mean? And when I came out, I was just so grateful to be alive that it was like, "This is wonderful. I'm gonna be fine. I'm not really an alcoholic. This was super circumstantial for me. This was because of the engagement breaking off. Like, I get to do a life with a new outlook, and I'll be sober, and I'll be fine." What was harder for me was the last 9 years trying to be the girl who sat at the bar with a Diet Coke while everybody drank around me. It was more torturous to be that person, to try to pretend like I was fine with everybody else drinking around me and being angry and acting out, but nobody understanding why. I'm sober from alcohol. Everybody knew I started smoking pot and that wasn't what was making me angry. But so none of that was just hard. Like that was just hard to live with, to try to be normal when I wasn't. And then my rock bottom came in June of 2024, where I had worked at the same job for 10 years.
Mm.
I worked in restaurants. I managed 2 restaurants, and we had just opened up a second location, the second location. I had been managing it for almost 3 years. I was my boss's go-to girl for everything. I mean, everything. I was the emergency contact for his daughter. And all of a sudden, I'm calling out of work. I'm getting coverage for work. And every time I didn't show up, my owner would have to go in because I had big shoes to fill in the restaurant world, whatever it is. And he sat me down and he's like, "What the is going on with you? Tell me what's happening." And I'm like, "Listen, I'm going through this breakup again. I'm having a really hard time. I promise I'll straighten up. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry." He's like, "I'm going to tell you right now, if you continue doing this, I can't keep you here. And I love you. You're one of my favorite people, but what can I do?" And I said, "You're right. You're right. I'm
Um,
sorry. I'll get it together." And it only took 2 weeks before I called out again, and he called me to the restaurant, and he was like, "Sit down." He's like, "I told you." And I'm like, "You did tell me." I said, I'm really sorry." And with that, I got up, I took the key to the restaurant off my key ring, I put it on the table in front of him, said, "Thank you so much for all these years," and I walked out with my head held low, knowing that this was my fault.
Yeah.
I went home, drank myself silly. I told my mom's like, "Why did you lose your job?" And I've been calling out a lot because
yeah.
I'm so sad and depressed from the breakup. I didn't allude to the alcohol, obviously. And I was just like, I can't believe this. And with that, within the 2 months from June to August when I went to rehab, it was the quickest downward spiral that I had experienced in forever. I had no responsibilities because I had no job, and I started drinking every day, and I was getting caught in my lies, and I was telling my family I would be places and I wouldn't show up, and
Yeah.
everyone's spider senses finally went up, like, "Yo, what is the deal?" And with
Yeah.
that, my mom, she drove down to my house and she surprised me. She didn't tell me she was coming, and I have a sliding glass patio door, And she walked right through the patio door and saw me sitting in my apartment with a big thing of fucking vodka. And she's like, I fucking knew it. She's like, I knew it. I knew you were drinking. And she smacked me in the face 3 times.
Wow.
My mother has never put her hands on me in my entire life. I've had the utmost wonderful upbringing. There's nothing more that I can say. Loving mother who didn't drink, who cared for me in so many ways, is my best friend. She was like, I'm watching her kill herself again. So when she hit me, it came out of a place of fear. You know what I mean? Like, what the is going on?
Yeah.
And that was my rock bottom. I sat on my floor and I cried and I said, I can't do this. I can't continue to hurt the people around me like this. I can't hurt myself like this. What am I doing? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And that's the night I called rehab.
Wow.
And they said, we'll give you 3 days. We'll be there. I said, great, gives me 3 days to drink. And I did what any other crazy alcoholic would do, loaded up on booze for 3 days, sat there in my sorrows, like this is the last hurrah, whatever. Got super drunk and went to rehab a couple days later. She took me and dropped me off and cried in her arms when I left, She never wanted anything but for me to be better, to get better.
Yeah.
And that's why
Sometimes a
that
little
happened.
tough
So that
love.
was my rock bottom. She was breaking my mother's heart for the millionth time was my rock bottom.
Yeah, I could understand that a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Seriously, thank you for sharing that. And you've been sober since.
No, I had a relapse in between. So when I went in August, I came out, I had 3 months of the sobriety and I all of a sudden just went on a 2-week bender and
Can you describe what you went through before you relapsed? Do you think you premeditated those thoughts and avoided
I
it
had
for a while
had
or just gave in?
I had the pink cloud syndrome that this was all so great. And then I had gone to my liver specialist and gotten a clean bill of health. Like they were like, all your liver functions are great. Everything looks great. Now, after I've done this, what I figured would be some type of damage over, these years. And he said, you're fine. And then a trigger in my head was like, holy hell. I'm like, I got clean bill of health. Like I've been able to get sober. And with that, I went to the local grocery store, not even the liquor store, because I don't even think it was open yet. And I got a bunch of these like disgusting, like beatbox type drinks because they were very hot. It didn't matter. I just looked for the highest alcohol level. And I bought a bunch of them and I said, oh, I'm only going to do this today and maybe tomorrow. And then I'm going back to it. It was 2 straight weeks of me doing it. And I laid in bed. And then finally, it was December 16th at night. I went to bed. And December 17th, I woke up and I said to myself, okay, I'm going to stop. And I started sweating and I started getting sick. And I said, I'm not doing this. I called the detox and detox said, we can have someone come pick you up in 2 hours. I said, send them. And I packed my stuff and I went and that was it. And because I knew, I said, this is it. I got to go. I can't continue another day like this. And I've been
Wow.
sober since. Yay!
It's so cool that you made that decision consciously on your own while you're trying to, detox on your own. And you just made that healthy decision to actually call for help because it's so dangerous to try to do it on your own.
I could tell. I could feel it. And I was worried that I wasn't strong enough. There was 2 phone calls to be made. One was either going to be me messaging DoorDash to bring me more booze, or one was going to be getting me a ride to detox. And then I chose the detox
That
because
is amazing.
Good.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to do this again. I wanted to go, and I went right back to my program. And I went right back to the people that have been supporting me, and with open arms, they embraced me. They said, okay, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do different now?
What do you do different now?
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not going to smoke pot. That's for sure. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not addicted to everything. And I'm going to be totally clean and sober, and I'm going to restart where I left off, and went back to my step 1 and went back to I had gotten I don't know. I always get weary about what I'm supposed to say about my program, but I went and I got a new sponsor.
Good.
What?
Don't ever be afraid on this podcast to express who you really are.
Yeah, it's, people frown upon speaking about it, but I don't, at the end of the day, we're in a different generation than we were when this program came out. And I again, I'm not going to sit here and discuss it over and over, but if you're going to ask me what worked for me, I'm going to tell you what worked for me. I'm not going to force anybody. I'm not going to shove it down anybody's throat. And I'm not going to say it's the only way, because that's not how I feel. But at the
Perfectly
end of the
said.
day, nothing else worked for me but this. And this is what has worked for me. I've never had 9 months of honest sobriety in 9 years. And I only had a year of sobriety on my own in my entire life. And that was because I almost died. So something's working if I'm able to do it. And I'm not a miserable, dry drunk. So I'll tell you
Yeah.
what worked for me if you're going to ask, but I can't pretend like that's not part of who I am and what's helping me stay sober. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Of course.
So love my program.
I love that you love your program. No matter how we
I
get
love
It's a
it too.
lifesaver.
Yes. Yes.
I built a community. I didn't have any friends that could relate to me. You know what I mean? I never did. And I was just like, what do you think made me isolate? Because I didn't have anybody that understood how bad this was. And when I left the hospital after I got sick, the doctors said, you need to go to AA. I said, no, I don't. I said, I'm fine. I'm fine. They're like, yeah, you're fine. Sure. But they recommended it. And I said, no. And I even said to my mom, I read through my transcripts, and I remember my mom and I read through them recently. And I did say that I would go to a meeting, and I never went. And when I went to rehab, they said to me, you go to a meeting the day you leave. And I said, okay. And when I left, my mom calls me and she said, what do you do? And I said, nothing. I'm probably just going to go home and rest because I haven't been home in so long. You should rest. I'll go to the meeting tomorrow. She goes, is that what they told you to do? I said, no, they told me to go tonight. She goes, then you should go tonight. I said, Adriana, for once, can you please listen to somebody else? I said, all right, fine. I went. And then the following day, I went in the morning. And that is what is called the Early Birds, which is my group, which is my home group, that I've officially been in now for a year because I left rehab a year ago. Yes, a year ago today, actually. That's really crazy because it's the 24th.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I've been in AA for a year with 9 months of sobriety. So all I know is that I'm where I'm supposed to be and where I want to be and where I will stay and continue to be as long as I feel as if it's necessary for me. And right now it's very necessary. I have to protect this so little bit of sobriety. I don't have long-term sobriety. I have a touch of sobriety right now. I have to protect it with all that I am and do everything that it takes. When they asked me, are you willing to do whatever it takes? I finally said, yes, I'm willing to do whatever it takes
Can't
because
rest on our laurels. We just gotta like come into those. The meetings work for me too, and I didn't think they ever would. But I mean, the fact that I go consistently and I see people collecting a 45-year chip tomorrow, and I'm getting my 1-year chip in a few days and stuff, and I'm just like, holy crap! Things like that make me want to keep coming back because clearly it's working for some people, and I totally, respect anything else that works for others, but it's what I need and it's working. And for some reason, since I've been going, I'm still sober. So I'm like, I'm going to keep coming back, as they always say.
I sit in my Saturday beginner meeting every week, and it's a huge meeting. And every week we add up the amount of years of sobriety from the people getting chips that week, and we're like, you just had 30 years, you just had this many years, you just had that many years, and then you just added one more year as the newcomer. It's an incredible thing to see. You know what I mean?
So incredible.
It just shows that we know that the opposite of isolation is connection. And this is a connection that is so good for us as alcoholics because we like to be alone. But we don't, if we're surrounded by people, like-minded individuals, like most people, we're going to be okay. And I just love my group, and they're my, saviors.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, same. That's my
started
social
with
life
AA.
too. So
I started with AA, and I'll share this story. I'll share what I do. I'm not in any program, but I plan on actually attending AA again. I've been saying this to Ryan a little bit too long, and I'm not doing any steps. I don't think I'm making excuses. My life is actually genuinely so freaking busy, but at the same time, there are meetings that are super freaking early, so I am making excuses in a sense, but I'll share my story. So the day I decided to get sober, April 5th of 2024, I went to AA. I found a home group. I was going there up until I was almost 4 months sober. I ended up making a friend. She had a son my son's age. She was my age. She came there and I always kind of smelled vodka on her. And I don't know what I think in my mind. I was just like, I don't know. She would always like kind of say it's mouthwash, which I knew was bullshit, but I was like, no fucking way. Anyway, kept hanging out with her. And she was like always like, she was the cool girl in the group too, which I know you guys kind of know what that means. Like she kind of thought she was like hot shit. She'd walk in there and just say hi to people, whatever. And I loved it. I was excited about being her friend. And she picked up the phone every time I called. And then I decided I had an issue with my fiance. And I decided 2 IPAs will not kill you. You're going to just have 2 IPAs. After you drink them, you will call that girl and then admit that you drank them. And I did that. And she goes, why don't you come over? Why don't you come over? I got you. I'm going to be here for you. So I did. And she goes, come to my kitchen. Like, let me show you around. And then she opens a cabinet and there is a large bottle of vodka, the vodka that I probably was smelling on her. And it was gung ho from there to the point that I was so fucked up to the point that my fiance had to resuscitate me and he couldn't find me. My location was off and she drove my car home. I don't remember getting home. And that point on, I said, I'm going to say this, like, I'm never going to do AA again. This is a cult. I can't believe it. I was so upset. So then I found a group. I am absolutely not going to say the name of it. I found a woman's group, a coach. I got very involved with the group. We had to pay for it monthly, but she really worked with me financially. I got close to her. She lived very close to me. And it turned very toxic to the point that I left because that just was not working for my sobriety anymore. She expected me to basically work for her for free. I was something called a leader, whatever the fuck that means. Yeah. But so we did that.
Was this somebody that you found through like Instagram? Like,
yes, it is. Yes, we could totally. Yeah. But I was part of something. I went to a retreat. It was very ugly. And in May, I decided this is not for me anymore. This is actually very toxic. A lot of people after that retreat ended up relapsing, actually. So there's that. And this person is not professionally trained in any way.
sorry.
So I didn't end up relapsing though. Made me drive myself more and more and more. And now I have this podcast that I'm very involved with. So the social media has been my connection, but I don't have an actual connection with people in person. And I thought to myself, I think it would be great to learn the steps and actually give AA another try because you're about to be 1.5 years sober in October. So why not? You're already helping people so much. And now that I'm doing the podcast, that there's AA is very known. And I kind of, in a sense, feel like I don't know, like when people are like, when in step 2, this is and this, I'm like, the fuck is that? So yeah.
But honestly, Rachel, with your personality, I think a lot of people in AA would really respect you because you're outspoken and you're direct, and AA needs that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
And let me ask you something. And this comes from a place of love. You said you want to give it a chance.
Yes.
How many times did we give alcohol a chance?
Mm-hmm.
What's not the harm to give this another chance?
I'm going to give it another chance. And I don't want to do it virtually. I mean, that's an option, but I don't want to do it virtually. I want to go. And I'm actually thinking of going back to that very same meeting. So, because I felt home there, they were very welcoming, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go in with your head held high. And you know what you want to do, and you go in with your head held high, and you sit down, you shut up, you find yourself a sponsor, and and I'm only saying this because, like he just said, like your personality, they need strong women in these groups too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I just think that the connection part, like you said, it's wonderful to be able to connect with the social media because I find it to be extremely helpful. I'm connected with lots of people through it and it helps my sobriety and I am okay with that. You know what I mean? But the one-on-one with humans, like talking to girls face to face for me is really comforting. And I've made some really good friends through it that I would never have,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I need
get on in there, girl.
Yeah, I really
It's
do
amazing
feel
the
like I
community
need
that's
that.
developing.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I
Like
need it.
social
I want to
media
make
really
connection. So,
No, like Adriana, I was when you mentioned, you're not sure about talking about AA on here. Like my first few episodes, I was actually self-conscious about talking about it, so I bleeped out whenever anybody said AA because I was trying to respect a lot of the old timers, and anonymity. But I was just thinking to myself, like, if this works for me, and I'm going to be talking to people about recovery on a regular basis, and it works for me, I'm not going to preach it or force it on people, but I'm not going to hide it either, and I'm not giving out any names or anything. I'm not talking about what I learned in
Correct.
the rooms. I'm just
Correct.
saying it works for me. It changed my life. So,
And
but
it's like if I didn't have such a pre notion of it, which is what I thought. My no ideas were bunch of old men in a room,
yeah,
telling you what to do. So I was turned off. If I see somebody like me talking about it and they're like, it's awesome, it's so
yeah,
great. I wish I knew what I knew then, what I know now. It could change somebody's mind to stepping through that front door, which could
yeah,
obviously change their life. You know what I mean? So that's why, I'm careful in the rooms. At first I did say something to the effect of like, yes, social media. And a couple of the old people were like, you can't, this. And I said, you know what? This is one of those scenarios where I got to do what my mother has always told me, less is more. I don't need to talk about this. I don't need to talk about this here. The people that want to find me on there or are curious or whatever, they've already found me and they're like, this is great. The rest, take what you need and leave the rest. I don't need to worry about the people in the room who don't agree with it. Is it make or breaking my day? Is it changing my sobriety? Is it doing anything? No. So Adriana, don't worry about it. Don't worry about what these people are thinking about it. It doesn't matter. Because at first I was like, I shouldn't do this. Like, people are going to frown upon it. And then I have to thank one of my friends because he was like, stop worrying about what they're saying. It doesn't
yeah,
matter. And I'm like, you're right. It really doesn't, and I'm proud of what I've been doing, sharing my story. And as you guys are proud of the podcast, because at the end of the day, if we help one person, we're doing something what
yeah,
we're being taught to do, which is give away what was so freely given to us.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Literally. I started my Instagram just to get my story out while I was in that community, but and that's why it put me as a leader. But I started my Instagram in February just to get my word out and to share my stories. Like if you go on my Instagram to my early stuff, and then it turned into like I was being managed, all the stuff that I was posting by one of the managers of this group. So my content's very different now. It's actually me. I wasn't
Right.
being told what to do, but I did originally start that Instagram just to share my story and get my story out to help just one person. And I know you are Adriana and so are you, Ryan. And I've been told that I inspire so many people. I'm like, me? I inspire you? That's crazy. Like it's like if you guys only knew.
awesome.
Right.
Yeah. And we got, Rachel helping, co-hosting a podcast. Adriana, what's your 24-hour day look like now, sober for 9 months? What are you doing? I see Sober Strong on your sweatshirt. I'm curious to like what all that's about.
Okay. So, well, a 24-hour day for me at this point is I wake up, I go to the gym. There's a gym in my complex. So I go to the gym as consistently as I can. It's still a struggle for me. I'm still working on that aspect of motivation, but I'm getting there. And then I go to a meeting in the morning at 7 a.m., whether it be in person or virtual. It all depends on my work schedule. After I got fired from the restaurant, I was out of work until this past February of 2025. I got a job working in a dental office as a quote unquote lead concierge. I'm basically like a fancy front desk girl. I was hired because of my hospitality skills, nothing to do with the dental field, that I have a personality and I can sit and talk with the people in the waiting room. It's not the place where you walk in, check in, hi, and I'll sit down. Like I get them a coffee, I BS with them. Like that's my job. So I get up, whether it's the meeting online or in person, I go to my full-time job, which is 9 to 5, as they say. Usually I'm home by 6 o'clock at night. I work on content for Instagram at that point, and then by 8 o'clock, I try to completely just unwind when it comes to journaling, working on my step work. I speak with my sponsor every Tuesday. I see her at the meetings, but Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays we connect and do a full, catch up of our days and everything. So I'm always connected with her. My weekends are filled with positive family stuff. My niece and nephew play soccer. I go and watch them play soccer on the weekends. I always still go to a meeting. I go to church on Sundays. My life is busy in all the best ways possible, in healthy ways that I really didn't believe could happen for me. So that's a pretty basic day. And when I put my head down at night, I put my head down with a lot of gratitude because it's just a place and a space I didn't think I'd be in. And the gratitude for getting a job out of the restaurant business when it's the only business I ever knew is an incredible thing. And I'm learning a lot. And my doctor really likes me. And I can see myself, I'm going to be growing there and taking on cases where we're selling huge cosmetic plans and stuff. Like there's a room for growth. So I'm really excited for the future. I keep saying that my
Is it nice to
40s.
say that? I'm excited for the
Yeah.
future when we were sitting there with a bottle being like, I don't give a fuck what happens.
Yeah,
And now you can look in the mirror and be like, man, I was in a medically induced coma and now I'm excited for the future. It's just
People are like,
amazing to
"Oh,
see you happy.
my fees." I'm like, my birthday's in November. I'm like, "Bring it on." I can see the next 10 years of my life
Yes.
being phenomenal
yeah,
because of all one day at a time, of course, but I can see if I can continue the way I'm going, beautiful things, and I'm excited for it. And then when it comes to Sober Strong, my friend Chris is a wonderful dude. I met him through social media. I was one of the first ambassadors for Sober Strong. I really enjoyed what he was doing. He was all about raising money and donating to recovery centers, flat out check, Yeah. So each month, quarter, he does. So every like 3 months, he picks a new recovery center and donates proceeds to them. And we actually had Sober Cat. She matched our how much we raised for the last quarter. She matched it and donated on top of it. So it goes to these centers to help people get the help, and I stood for that because I know how lucky and blessed I am that I got the chance to go to rehab. I know that there are so many people out there, people are like, "How'd you get sober?" I'm like, "Rehab." They're like, "I can't afford rehab. I don't have insurance. I can't go to rehab. I can't leave my family. I can't do this."
Yeah.
I didn't have a job. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a husband. I was lucky that I could pick up and get my ass there and pay for it and go. So if I can help other people do that, then that's what I want to do because what a blessing and what a gift that I was able to go.
for sure.
It's like
And
second life.
I was not at the Ritz-Carlton. I was not at a Florida rehab where you're out at the beach. And I had 1 hour outside a day of sunlight out in the sun. I had classes all day long. I looked like I was in a jail, okay? So there was no luxury to any of this. And I didn't deserve luxury. I deserved exactly what I got to get sober. And I will continue to work with this company all through and through because if we can help anybody, and he is an awesome guy who really cares about people getting better. And I
That's awesome.
support that. I co-sign that all day.
Awesome.
Oh yeah,
So,
Awesome.
that
Yeah.
is
No,
awesome.
it's amazing. Yeah.
yes.
No, just seeing all three of us, just the transformations in our attitude towards the future now. And it's just now we're helping people. I mean, I didn't think when I started this podcast how many amazing people I would meet, including Rachel. I wasn't even planning on having a co-host, but we hit it off right off the bat. And we both have the same attitude towards sobriety and talking to
Don't be
people.
jealous. We've been chatting on the side.
I'm
We
a
so
little
have.
jealous. No, I love the community.
Yes,
It's really cool. So
seriously though,
yeah,
seriously.
Rachel, do you have any other questions, Rachel, that you haven't asked?
I wouldn't say this is a question. I just genuinely am so inspired by you. I actually think I reached out to you because I thought you were a business to like do that. I think that's how we met. I thought you were like a business to
Think
like
so.
help. And you're like, "I'm not a business." And I was like, "Oh, well, hi." And then we started talking, but I genuinely am very inspired by you. I have a lot of things in common with you. I'm not from New York, I'm from Boston, but that's an up north. Like we have a similarity thing right there. It's just an understanding. But there's that. But, I go to the gym in the morning as consistently as I can. I've fallen off lately, but I'm going to get back on that high horse too. But I work in a medical office, not dental. I'm a receptionist. So we do have a lot of things in common, but I'm very inspired
We
by you.
do.
Yeah. I'm very inspired by you.
Thank you, hon. And
doing it.
definitely,
Well, one more,
I've enjoyed chatting with you so much, and knowing that we have so many similarities, and continue our friendship through,
Yeah.
however. And you never know. I'm about to meet somebody that I met through social media in the city. You never know where the
You
life
can
will
do
bring
it.
you. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, me and Ryan met. We met in person.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
and we talk
I
every
love
day,
it.
and I went over to Florida. We met up and hung out for like, a few hours, and just like it's like we work together, but we're friends too. It's so cool,
Yes. It's
I
very
love it.
important.
It's so
Yeah.
great. That's amazing.
Yeah, we
And
definitely
Love it.
been helpful in my recovery for sure.
yeah.
Love it.
No, one more random thing, but when you told me about your mother having to hit you a couple of times to wake you up, is she Italian?
So the funny thing is my mom is Irish, and yeah, she's
Okay.
Irish, and my dad is from Argentina. So I mean, I'm like
Okay.
this Argentinian Italian mutt of some sort. But no, like I mean, it wasn't. I heard about the wooden spoon when I was little. It was like,
Yeah.
I'll hit you with the wooden spoon. But no, I mean, like when I tell you, never a hand on me till I
No,
was
I
a
know.
38-year-old woman, and boy, did I deserve
No,
it.
it just
So
reminded me of my Italian grandmother who she lived till 105, but like 70 years ago when she was like almost 100 or something, 98. I came home at her house drunk in Vermont, and
Oh,
she ended
God.
up hitting me 3 times. So I was like, is this an Italian thing? I mean, I don't know. I was like, just got my
it's an
ass
angry
beat by an old
woman thing.
lady. And then the next morning, I was scared shitless to come downstairs, and she's like, would you like breakfast? I'm like, "That's okay."
Yeah.
That's literally
No,
me.
yeah, we took a day off from speaking, and then it was like, Mom, I'm going to, I'm going to go to rehab. She's like, all right, well, as long as this solved something, then I'm fine with this.
Right.
Sometimes we need a little tough love, and we
Totally. I
kind of
needed
like
to not be enabled anymore. I needed to
Yeah.
not get away with it anymore.
Facts.
I
Yeah,
like that.
for sure.
Is there any quotes that you live by that we like to throw in the episode? Something that comes to mind? You've already said amazing stuff. I love what you said about, I deserve to be in that place that I was in rehab. I
Yeah.
deserved it. And that was very powerful, honestly.
I try to, I have a positive kind of quote and I'm going to say something. You're only as sick as your secrets. I realized that the sickest I've ever been when I've been, active is when I'm carrying around a lot of secrets, and when I'm trying to manage those secrets, and, that makes me sick and keeps me sick. And I don't ever want that. And, I'm like, the positive note of it all is, it's going to be the cliche one day at a time, because I can't think about my whole life, because that's so daunting to me to think I could never touch a drink for the rest of my life. The minute I even say it, I just got chills, because it's a wild thought to me.
Yeah.
But I do know that I can control the next hour of my life. And I know what I'm
Exactly.
going to do when I get off the podcast with you. I'm going to go wash my face, and I'm going to eat dinner, and I'm going to lay down, and I'm going to journal. That I know. And I'm safe, and I'm in a safe
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
Love
just got to
that.
be one day and 1 hour at a time sometimes, because I don't want this temporarily. I want this forever. So I need to do it as slow as possible, So
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. That's perfectly said. I mean, we appreciate you being on the show. And Rachel, do you have any last things to say?
No, again, like very inspired by you and the way that I even now I'm very grateful to hear your story, because a lot of the symptoms, it got me teary-eyed. A lot of the symptoms that you said you had, I think I was probably on the verge of something. So I'm grateful
Yeah.
to hear your story, really.
Yeah. I could
I'm
relate
great.
to. It struck me when you were describing in the beginning just how you felt physically and how people looked at you and they're just like, you look like shit. And I'm just like, I remember that like it was yesterday, and that keeps me sober now, just, kind of rewinding every once in a while.
Oh, yeah. I was so overweight.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was overweight. So very overweight. I was 221 pounds when I decided to quit. And that's another sign of mine that was not healthy. I'm 5'3",
you
almost
showed
5.
me some pictures. You look incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very small
You
now.
do.
Thank
You look
So
incredible. So
no more Gumby, no more Ratchet Rachel, and no more Everyday RPK. So we're all done with those
everyday
picks.
RPK.
My initials, because I'd be shit faced every day.
Yeah.
Every-
I don't think I don't think I've told Rachel about that one. I haven't brought that out yet in my videos.
That's a good one. I like it.
Every day with RPK, like,
Yeah, I guess we'll have to do an episode about that. So,
yeah,
thank you so much, Adriana. This was a lot of fun. We've been looking forward to talking to you. So, and it was totally
It was
yeah.
It was awesome. Thanks, guys, for having me. And we'll do a follow up in a few months or whatever. We'll get back on here and shoot the shit.
Heck yeah, we
Do it.
will. Yeah, we'll be talking about more topics later on, and we'll definitely bring you back on. So,
Amazing.
all right. Thank you. Have a good
Bye, guys.
evening.
Thank you again.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.
Rock Bottom with Ryan. No bullshit, just recovery.